I would like really to understand more about epigenetics and
Yes,
understand what it is in simple terms, what it can do for us, and
for sure.
we can exploit that.
Yes, yes. And the exciting thing is we have learnt more in the last 10 years. I'll keep it really simple. You know, if you've suspected to break a bone, you go and get an x-ray where they can see your skeleton, your bone. And then if you need to do a CAT scan of your organs, they put a dye in you and they can actually see different parts of your organs. MRI does muscle imaging and soft tissue imaging. So we have incredible technology. We can image the brain, the energy of the brain. So Dr. Bruce Lipton is sort of like the father of epigenetics, and it's basically understanding the frequency of our biology. Meaning, I'm going to use a great example. If I picked up my mobile phone now and I had your phone number, Rosanna, I could call you, and the frequency of my digital number to your digital number would bounce off satellites all over the world, and they would meet because it's a matching frequency. And inside of our body, all of our cells. So my job as a scientist was to look down a microscope, and we can see under large magnification, we can see cells. We actually go down many, 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 many gazillions more magnification, and we can see the micro and nano structures of cells. And at the end of all that micro magnification is just literally vibrating energy. The human body is a mass of vibrating energy made up of trillions of cells with their own little packet of information to be an ear or an eye or a leg or something. We know that the body emits a certain electromagnetic frequency. The heart space has 100,000 times more electromagnetic frequency emitted than what our brain does. And all of our organs, they actually have their own brain. Our heart just does what it does. We don't have to tell it what to do, thank goodness, because it beats 33 million times a year. Our brain, it does all of these amazing things all by itself. And so we have such incredible technology in our body that all emits a frequency. And we know through the studies through Dr. Bruce Lipton, and there are a few key people, Dr. Daniel Amen, Dr. Joe Dispenza, they're the brain people, can measure the frequency of the brain, that in different stages of emotion, as soon as we have a thought, what happens is we have a massive release of chemicals down our nervous system. It's like instant, like a lightning bolt. And from that moment, we have a hormone reaction because it's being given a signal. And then there's this cascade of reactions that go on to have us have a feeling and then possibly an action. It could be fight and flight. It could be digesting our food. It could be all these things. When we live in a very low emotion of shame, guilt, fear, anger, grief, sadness, anxiety, what happens is these are the hormones of stress. And we're only meant to be in the hormones of stress in a fight and flight situation. But unfortunately, because of 21st century living, that is actually hard turned on. People are now in a heightened state of stress almost 24/7. Example, a lion hunting a deer in the African plains. All of a sudden, the deer sees a lion or smells it and it takes off. Like they could have the chase for 3 or 4 minutes, outruns the lion. The deer goes back to grazing as though nothing's happened. And so it goes back to a normal state of balance, of hemostasis, where its system comes back into normal regulation. Modern life, with all of the shiny things that we're exposed to, all of the horrible fakeness of social media, all of the pressures of family, all of the media, everything that's coming in. We have 70 thoughts a day going through our brain, and 95% of that is actually the redundant replay of the monkey mind chatter that we spoke to ourselves about yesterday and the day before and the day before, all the things we're unhappy about, all the things that aren't good enough, all the things that we should have done over and over and over again. And this is keeping us in this heightened state of the survival hormones. And so we're cortisol burnout, baby, dopamine burnout, where our body gets addicted to the hormones of stress. Can I ask a question? Do you drink coffee, Rosanna?
Unfortunately, yes. I'm a bit addicted. I mean,
Okay.
that's my justification, but no, I'm actually addicted to coffee.
I'm going to give a great, easy example to understand epigenetics. So if you drink more than the average of 1 to 2 cups a day of normal coffee, your little cells create, I call them parking bays. So it creates a parking bay for caffeine. And if those parking bays aren't filled on time, what happens is you get a brain message saying, oh, hang on, I need my coffee. And that's all you can think about is I need to get my coffee. And that is literally it's almost like a lock and key that finally the caffeine's come and it's inserted into the lock. And therefore the brain, the cell goes, thanks for that. And so that state, and this happens with medication, this happens with smoking, this happens with drinking alcohol, this happens with the people who have too much fast food in their diet with all of the chemicals and the fats and the sugars. We have all these different parking bays on our cells. We've got over 100 trillion cells in our body. Can you imagine the storm going on when you don't fulfill those parking bays where you are all body? You are no energy, you are no mind, you are all body, and your body is running your mind. And so the hormones of stress also create parking bays on our cells. They epigenetically change. So the core structure, the core little DNA recipe that you were born with from mum and dad still stays the same. I mean, we can have mutations, which happens occasionally. But the expression, like the recipe on the outside of the cell that has formed with all of the things that you're putting into it, mind and body, like the environment, the pollution, the social media, the Netflix, the coffee, the alcohol, all those things now have a signal on the outside of your cell that your body expects every single day. It becomes addicted to that. And so when you don't have that, your body is putting up a protest, and then your mind becomes obsessed with it because it just needs to get that fix. And this is also with the hormones of stress. We become so turned on with those that when the perfect example is, especially in people living in a toxic relationship, that there might be a couple of days where nothing bad happens, and then all of a sudden a snide remark might happen, and then you snap back, and then all of a sudden, the toing and froing is on, or your child does something that triggers you because you're tired and grumpy or whatever, you've had a bad day at work, and then all of a sudden you get this big whoosh of hormones, the ones that your body wanted, all over again. So like I said way back early in our conversation, is that when your body starts to protest about, when you don't want to do something anymore, your body, it lets you know. This is also almost the opposite. When your body is addicted in this low negative vibrational state, and you don't have a crisis for a day or two, you will make something happen. Like it will be the law of attraction that something happens for it to be set off again. And this is why it's so difficult for people to change. Can you understand that when we are not in control, literally, of our body because it is so flooded with these hormones constantly, that to be able to if we want to lose weight, to change our habits there. If we want to get fit, to change our habits there, because the brain is used to it. The brain is used to operating at that level. And as soon as the brain frequency changes, it actually pulls out a safety net and says, hey, this isn't normal. What are you trying to do? You know you've been on several diets and they didn't work. Why are you going to try this again? You know you're going to be hungry in 2 hours. You know what your husband's going to say, don't you? And, all of this stuff. And then, of course, you go back to exactly how you were, because it's more comfortable being in this low negative vibrational state because you and your body and your brain is used to it, than to actually move into the discomfort zone. But it's in that uncomfortable zone, which is where the change has to happen. And so, trying to bookend this all to keep it really simple, it is now well known I'll bring modern health and wellness back into it, because quantum science, what people think is wild woo-woo, is actually just the Eastern arts that have been around for 3,000 years. And we have forgotten how to use our innate power, our own natural abilities to tap into that greatness. And so to be able to change your health, your relationships, your finance, your emotional status, literally reinvent your life, there is a whole process, like it's a sequential stacking process of learning how to do the basics to start with good health and wellness, and learning some techniques in tapping out when the relationship's going pear-shaped or yelling at the kids or whatever it might be, or bad spending habits because you're used to just spending everything that you've got and left with nothing again. That constant state of scarcity and lack mindset. But going within, people think meditation is weird if they've never tried it before. And yes, of course it's weird because you've never tried it before, and people fear what they don't know. And the hardest thing is trying to become still, because those 70,000 thoughts a day is going to start talking at you when you're trying to be quiet. And so the easiest way to actually start to learn to be present, I'm sure many people have heard of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a very famous best-selling book. But he just talks about being present. And all mindfulness is about being present when you eat, chewing your food, tasting the flavors, smelling the beautiful food, being present, listening to Mother Nature, listening to the birds, listening to whatever. So mindfulness is just being present. But a great way to start to learn to meditate, and you don't have to sit in the lotus position chanting Om. You're not a monk, okay? You don't need to do that. But it's just sitting in a relaxed position. It's very important to sit upright because we actually want to oxygenate our lungs, because that's really important for your brain. And sit tall, because our energy centers, our 7 main energy centers, the Eastern chakra system, is running along our spine from where we sit up to the crown of our head. And we want the energy to flow through there. Most people are so exhausted that if you were to lay down and focus on your breathing, you'd probably be asleep in 2 minutes. And we want you to learn some alert mindfulness. And so just focusing on the in-breath, it could be counting for 4, and then out-breath. In-breath through your nose, out-breath through your mouth. Just something really basic and beautiful like that. And that can alone bring you down into a state of relaxation, because what it does, it's a signal to your nervous system to relax. It turns the survival system off momentarily. So the key, there's a process of guided meditation of allowing you to still be conscious in your conscious brain waves, which is only 5% of our brain's capacity of consciousness. And the rest of it, that 95%, is our subconscious pattern. This is the pattern we've been running on our entire life. Your subconscious is programmed from the age of in utero to about 35. all of the signaling started while your mum was cooking you, okay? While you were in her belly, you got everything that she did. If it was traumatic and stressful, that is part of your epigenetic makeup. If it was beautiful, peaceful, love and harmony, and that is part of your epigenetic makeup. And so we can change, like, from a cellular perspective, the body can actually totally regrow a new cell generation in 90 days. So people have got to hang on for 90 days and be consistent. All my message is planting the seeds of hope. You can change. You can't undo the trauma and the impact that it's had on your life, but you can actually heal from trauma and step into your absolute greatness. And I say, awaken that giant within, totally reinvent yourself and become the true person, that higher self that has always been you. You just haven't let it out of the box, but it's in there.
Lisa, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell and like this video. See you on the next one.